Hey y'all, it's Laura and welcome to Bookies and Cookies. Today we're going to go over the books I read in November as well as a couple of other life things. So we'll do life things first. I uploaded 7 videos out of the 9 I was supposed to in November. BookTube just kicked my butt in November. There were holidays, there were turkey comas, and I just wasn't really feeling motivated to edit and get things out there. So really I just need to light a fire under my butt and stick to my uploading schedule so y'all don't get disappointed and wonder, where is she? Is she alive? If you follow me on Twitter, you'll stay the most up to date on my uploading schedule, if a video will be late or if it will be early or if it won't be coming at all, so you'll still know that I'm alive, just tweeting instead of YouTubing. I also went to Y'all Fest in November. It was amazing. It was beautiful. I met so many people. I got 20 books signed. I have a lot of blisters. I just was so happy and it just was a beautiful time, and I want to live in Charleston even though I can't afford to live in Charleston, and also my hair doesn't like the humidity in Charleston, but I really like Charleston. Y'all should definitely go to Y'all Fest if you haven't before, because it's just this is indescribable feeling. As of now, the only video I have up from Y'all Fest is the What I Learned from Y'all Fest video, so you can check that out as a card or come back, watch this video and then watch that. Thanks, boo. So I'm really hoping to have those vlogs up sometime in December, so keep an eye out for those. Before we get on to the bookie books, let me know in the comments if there's anything else you'd like me to include in these monthly wrap-ups besides my books and my bookish events. If there's movies I saw or TV shows I've been loving or anything else that you're really interested in. Any cookies I made, I guess I could include that. I really should just have a cookie series on this channel. It just hasn't gotten into development yet. It's still in pre-production. Oh, I hit 1,000 subscribers. That was the big deal. That was the thing you were supposed to include. Yes, so that is amazing. That is just wow. Thank you all so much, and thank you for subscribing and watching. You like me, you really kind of like me, or maybe you hate subscribe to me and you just want to watch to make fun of me. That's fine. I make fun of myself all the time. So rather than make a big event of it now, I'm gonna wait until my 1-year YouTube anniversary in January, and I'll do a Q&A, and more details about that will come when it's closer to that time period. I listened to 2 audiobooks, read 3 graphic novels, and read 4 novels in the month of November, so let's go through them. The first book I read this month was The Rest of Us Just Live Here by Patrick Ness. This follows 4 friends who are just trying to survive their senior year, while the indie kids, the hipster kids, have all the excitement. They all go off and be heroes and fight the vampires and the soul-eating ghosts and the alien invasions and all sorts of nonsense like that. So the 4 main characters are the ones that just live here. Mikey and Mel are siblings. Mikey has obsessive compulsive disorder, and Mel is recovering from anorexia, all while their mother is running for state government. Hannah is biracial and is being forced to move with her parents to the Democratic Republic of Congo after high school so they can all be missionaries together. Jared is a gay demigod, he's a quarter god, so quasi-god, and he has power over cats, so he's basically human catnip, or demigod catnip. The narrator was just so on this audiobook, but I did find myself chuckling and giggling throughout the book. However, it wasn't the most fast-paced or interesting. A lot of the action happened off-page and not to the main characters. They were dealing with a lot more real-life issues. Additionally, while there was great diversity amongst the main characters, I would not classify this as a diverse book because the author does not share any of the marginalizations of the characters, so this is just really reflecting real life. That's something I've recently read online in many of the discussions about diversity that I follow, and it makes a lot of sense. You can have own voices where the author and the characters share a marginalization, or you can have books by marginalized authors, but non-marginalized authors who are just writing diversely are really just writing the world as it is, and they don't really get bonus points for that. So I'm gonna start clarifying and classifying my diverse books based off of that definition rather than just any diversity anywhere involved. While there were many examples of marginalized groups in this book, I'm not certain if any of them were fair representation, as the author does not share any of those marginalizations, nor do I, so I would need to read up on some reviews to find that out. Next, I read To All the Boys I Loved Before by Jenny Han, and I loved this book so much. I don't really like realistic contemporary romance. It's a cheesy, gooey part of me that we have to dig down deep to find, but then I'm oh, they're so cute. This book follows Lara Jean Song Kobe after her older sister goes away to college in Scotland, and she's left in charge kind of managing her family. Her mother passed away many years ago, and she has a younger 9-year-old sister to take care of, and her father is a doctor and he works very strange hours. She scrapbooks, she bakes delicious cookies. I want to go to their New Year's Eve party just for the cookies, because she makes so many different types of cookies. I got inspired. I want to spice up my cookies that I make for Christmas now, and I'm just girl. So Lara Jean, once she's done loving someone, she writes a letter to them saying why she did love them, why she fell out of love with them, and they're to all the boys she's loved before. And somehow these letters get sent off to the respective boys they're about. So So now Lara Jean has to kind of pick up the pieces and the ramifications of what follows now that these boys know what she really thinks of them. It's wonderful humor and it's a delight to read. At times it felt a little simplistic. I have to remind myself this book is geared towards teens. Another awesome thing about this book is that while Lara Jean and her sisters are biracial, they are half South Korean, half Caucasian, this book isn't about just that. It's a contemporary romance that happens to have a biracial main character. That it's not just like, oh, you're reading this because it's an other book. It's just another book on the shelf that happens to be a contemporary romance that happens to have a biracial main character. Does that make sense? I'm not certain if I'm making any sense, and I'd love to talk to you more in the comments below where I can make more sensical sense. After that, I read the most beautiful book that I've ever read. It made me happy cry, and I don't cry during books. It doesn't happen. My heart might rip, I might have to like crawl in a corner, but I really like cry, and I was like driving and listening to this audiobook and crying, which is a very dangerous thing, and that is Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. Simon's in high school and he's doing all the typical things. He's in theater, he's taking his AP English class, he's trying to figure out who he is, but he knows who he is, he's just closeted, he's gay. He hasn't told anyone about his sexuality except for his internet pen pal Blue, who also goes to his school, but they use fake code names so that way they don't know who each other is. Simon accidentally leaves his email up one day and one of his classmates finds it and blackmails him that's saying, you have to help me get this girl to like me or else I'm going to tell the whole school that you're gay, which is just terrifying and terrible, and that you should not out someone until they're ready to be out. With great humor, Albertalli mixes everyday high school life with Simon's emails with Blue and puts them together in one of the most beautiful books I've read this year. It just was lovely. Like, I cannot believe that Becky Albertalli is not like a teenager and that she didn't just graduate from high school last year, because so many of the experiences brought me exactly back to my high school. I'd also like to point out that I saw Becky Albertalli 4 times at Y'all Fest, like walking past her like 4 times, and I never stopped and said hello, or never stopped and said, thank you for your book, I happy cried, it was amazing. Like, none of that, and I just listened to it the week before, and I didn't stop her, and I didn't make it to her signing, and I regret, and she saw the recognition in my eyes. Like, she's like, oh, she knows who I am. I'll make a whole video about like the 30 people I saw during Y'all Fest that I didn't talk to because I was too scared. Next, I read the second in the Lara Jean Song Covey trilogy. The third will be coming out this April. That is P.S. I Still Love You, also by Jenny Han. I didn't enjoy this one because it left me in knots at the end, because it's the second in a trilogy, and there's like that plot mountain, the building tension, and then they hit the conflict, and then there's you know the plot mountain, you know what I'm talking about. So basically we hit the climax, and then like we don't have any resolutions. There's a lot to wrap up in the third book, but I still enjoyed this a lot more, mostly because of the characters they brought in. The writing style was evolved more, and I just really loved it. I'll just let you know that I'm not on Team Peter Kavinsky. Like, I just don't care. I can't wait for y'all to give me hate in the comments for that. Sorry, Team John Ambrose McLaren. Not sorry at all. Then I read Vicious by V.E. Schwab. I'd already read her Darker Shade of Magic books that are out, and I haven't read any for young adult yet, but I really hope to soon. This is a supervillain origin story. There are these EOs, extraordinary humans. They've had a near-death experience and have been brought back to life and now have like extreme powers. It's about 2 friends in college who are trying to turn themselves into EOs and end up turning themselves into supervillains. It reminds me a lot of Wicked, but if like everything turned to complete and utter shit. If, like, the song for good doesn't happen in like the musical, then they don't make up. So that's basically what occurs here in Vicious, that they are just vicious, tearing at each other's throats. Having only read the Darker Shade of Magic series, it's not much to compare to Victoria Schwab's other works, so it's what you could expect from her if you've only read A Darker Shade of Magic and A Gathering of Shadows, like dealing with monsters and monstrosity and viciousness and evil and human beings. There are plans for a sequel to Vicious, and I really hope that it happens, because one of them needs to fall. It's basically like Harry Potter, like either must die at the hand of the other, for neither can live while the other survives. Like Eli and Victor cannot live on this planet together. Like one of them needs to fall, and it's really just a choice between bad and worse between the 2 of them. Then I read the next installment in the Avatar: The Last Airbender graphic novel series. This one is entitled North and South. Each of these installments come in 3 parts, so they're all published like 3 or 4 months after each other. So this one came out in October, next one comes out in February, then the last one comes out, I believe, in like May or June. For the previous ones, they've all been published, so I've read them back to back to back, so I get the full story at once. And here, I couldn't delay my gratification, so now I gotta wait to read the second part. And that's on me, that's my fault, it's okay, it's cool. I really enjoy that these graphic novels exist because it helps bridge what happens at the end of the Avatar: The Last Airbender television show before the Legend of Korra television show. How there's been one generation of all this insane industrial revolution and technological advancements. North and South is about the Northern Water Tribe and the Southern Water Tribe and how the Southern Water Tribe advances to what we ended up seeing in season 2 of Legend of Korra. There are very few things that can surprise me at this point, so I kind of know how to end, but I definitely recommend these installments if you love the TV shows in any sort of way. Then I read a graphic novel in the classic series, so it's this whole series of like older literature that has been updated with modern artists. So they have one about Edgar Allan Poe works, and they have one about Robert Louis Stevenson and Louisa May Alcott and Charles Dickens and etc. and so forth. So this one was all about Native Americans, and since November is National Native American Heritage Month, I figured this was the perfect time to read this. I happened to find it on the shelves while cleaning up, and it came home with me that day. To start off, 52 people worked on this one installment. All of the people who worked on it are Indigenous, which is just fascinating and amazing and beautiful. Like, there are full bios of every single person involved in this project, and I was just astounded by the work they have done and the good they have done. So this took poems and short stories from the 1880s to about the 1920s, updated and adapted them, and then drew modern art to put them in this graphic novel installment. This was a real eye-opener about land and heritage and who is owned what and who owns what. And it made me really realize my privilege, and I see the importance of that with the Indigenous peoples, that they've been here and they've been with the land for so long, like it's a part of the culture in a way that's irrevocable and unable to be torn apart. And while these stories were written over 100 years ago, it's still incredibly relevant today and extremely important to think about and discuss and to read about. Then I tried my hand again with another Patrick Ness novel, seeing if I'd like this a little more, and I did like this one a little bit more. It was A Monster Calls. It was inspired by an idea by author Siobhan Dowd, who passed away of cancer before she was able to finish this book. So Patrick Ness wrote and dedicated this book in her honor. It follows a 13-year-old boy, Connor, whose mother has recently been diagnosed with cancer. She's been struggling with it for a few months now and gone through many rounds of chemotherapy. He's been having nightmares every night and worries that the monster from his nightmares will come. Instead, a different monster shows up and tells him 3 different stories, and then demands that Connor tells him his story, his truth, at the very end of it. It's beautifully told with illustration. It has that glossy kind of graphic novel paper, and it just is epically gorgeous and beautiful. And finally, I rounded out the month with another graphic novel. I read the 3rd volume in the Lumberjanes series, A Terrible Plan. So this one was drawn in a different artistic style and direction, so they're bringing more artists onto the project. It only threw me off for like a couple of pages that I wasn't used to seeing exactly the same type of eye shape and the exact same type of like hairstyling that I was used to seeing from the other 2 volumes, but I quickly got over that, and it's awesome that they're bringing more women creators onto this project. This graphic novel series currently has 4 installments out, with the 5th coming out at the end of December. It follows 5 friends at a summer camp for hardcore lady types. So while everyone else is kind of doing like the baking badge and the archery badge and the canoeing badge, they somehow get mixed up in all the mischief and end up fighting like 3-eyed foxes and yetis and dinosaurs and crazy stuff that happens in the woods. It doesn't take itself too seriously, and I really love it for that. That is everything I read in November. Y'all should comment your favorite book of November. I'll probably add it to my TBR. Like this video if you're still watching, because you the real MVP. Thank you all so much for watching. My name is Laura, and this has been Bookies and Cookies. I post videos on Sundays and Thursdays. I love each and every one of you, and I hope you never forget it, that you are loved. And remember to read diversely. Thanks, y'all. Thing in that one that I really liked. What was the thing? Ooh, I look like Trash McTrashpants. Ooh, it's the thing. It's the prophecy. Neither can live while the other survives.